Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to yet another fabulous episode of Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Hanging out with my boy Pinky, Tuesday, August 16th. We were off last week. We apologize, but we got plenty of division coverage going on this week to catch up, and we'll be rolling into that pretty quickly because there's not a whole lot else going on. So, Pinky, my man, how you doing?
Good, my man. It was a good weekend. We went and saw One Republic as a family
Nice.
up in
How
Denver.
did that go?
Oh, dude, it was really cool. I mean, obviously they've got a lot of hits, and they did play like all their hits, which was really cool. But it was super cool that I didn't know this at all. He's actually a songwriter, and has wrote songs for other artists. He's had like 6 or 7 number one hits that he wrote for other artists. So he played those songs and sang them, like just a little, 30 seconds or a minute. And I was like, dude, why didn't you keep these songs for yourself?
I honestly couldn't tell you one Republic song off the top of my head. I probably know of them, but I couldn't.
If you heard them, you would know them. Apologize. The one
apologize. That one.
Yeah, he wrote that at Garden of the Gods, actually.
Nice.
Because they all went to Colorado Springs Christian School for a year.
No kidding.
Yeah. So they're kind of from here because they spent a year here, but when they formed as a band.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, if you pull them up on Spotify, bro, just play the song, you'll be like, oh, I know that one. Their newest one was like it's in the Top Gun movie. It's the part of the football scene. It's like a top summer hit. Oh yeah, that's right. You ain't seen it yet. Sorry.
I'm not there yet, unfortunately. I'm waiting for it to come out.
Yeah, my wife hasn't seen it yet either. As she will remind me. But
I'm struggling with that, so let's not go down that rabbit hole for me, please.
It should be out soon, man. It should be out soon.
I hope so, man. I'll have that thing on repeat for the weekend. I'll tell you that much.
You got a big ass TV. It'll still be a good experience.
I got the surround sound and everything down here, so I will be putting that on, and I don't care how tired I am. I will watch that right away.
I did check out Bullet Train.
Oh, I've heard that's good. I want to see that so bad.
It's like a small notch below Top Gun. I loved it so much.
I'm excited for that one too. I've been waiting for that one to come out. It looks good.
His character is so funny. David Leitch directed it. He's the one he did Deadpool 2.
I've heard it's almost like his character from the Ocean's 11, just like with a full-on movie to himself.
Kind of. And he's a badass.
Right.
But what's funny about it is, and it's kind of funny because the Deadpool 2, Domino, that's in that movie, like everything kind of goes her way. She just has good luck, right?
Right.
That's the director basically wrote this movie that way. Okay. Brad Pitt has that good luck. He sees it as bad luck, but he has that good luck, and it's fantastic. I thought it'd be good from the previews. I was like, oh, this should be good. It was way better than I even imagined. So it's been Pinky approved. Go check out Bullet Train. It's going to be worth it. You guys will not.
Now let's we might need to start reclassifying Pinky approved. Was Thor Pinky approved?
Thor's Pinky approved. I left with a smile. I could pick apart some things that I didn't think was needed, or again, I don't have it on my top echelon of Marvel movies. I am absolutely someone who could pick that movie apart, but I had fun. And sometimes
we might have to start giving categories to Pinky approved, like get out there and see it, totally worth your time. If you got nothing better to do, this could entertain you for an hour and a half, Pinky approved. Like we might have to start giving a slight little bit of a context to these Pinky approved.
I don't know anybody that would be not entertained by Bullet Train.
Love that.
Like
all right.
Anybody.
Good stuff.
Now, it's got some violent gore stuff. from the fighting and stuff. But so like my wife, she'd watch it. I think she'd laugh, but some of the stuff would be a little gruesome for her.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Kind of like that Tarantino level, maybe. It's like close to that.
Okay.
So,
yeah, my wife doesn't have a problem with any of that stuff, which is good because I don't ever have to worry about what I watch or don't watch.
Perfect. You guys will love it.
Good to know. Good to know.
That was really all the nonsense of the weekend. I'm going to go see The Weeknd on Thursday, so that's good.
I'm not a huge fan of his, honestly.
I love The Weeknd, man. I've liked him since he first came out.
You tell me Post Malone, and I'll jump on that wagon with you real quick. But The Weeknd, I'm just not
Post Malone
his one song that got really popular. I like the kind of '80s vibe that he did with it. But
that whole album's got that '80s vibe. His newest one has a similar type of vibe to it, but he's like him and Justin Timberlake are like the closest things to Michael Jackson.
No, don't even put him on Timberlake's level.
He's pretty close to that level.
No way. Timberlake's the man.
I mean, Timberlake is the man, but he's on that level.
I would not put them in the same category at all.
You'd be wrong.
JT hasn't had anything new in a little while. I mean, if you're talking just pure like singing abilities, I could maybe get down on that. But like, Weeknd doesn't dance, Weeknd doesn't act, Weeknd doesn't entertain. He just sings. His halftime show is trash.
Okay, I can't disagree with you on that. But
JT doesn't do anything bad. JT's a part, it's gold.
I mean, I can't really argue that, but on a music level, The Weeknd's up there.
All right.
When you're talking as like the full like scope of being an entertainer, yes, JT's on another level. I can agree with that.
All right, I'll let that slide then. So I didn't do anything. Kid is sick as a dog last week. Wife and I caught it. We were sick as dogs over the weekend. It was a rough week last week in the Sersel household. So I am looking forward to what's coming up, man. That's my eye is on the prize of the future here recently, and I got some TV shows coming up that I'm really excited about. We got our draft coming up. Nebraska plays the same day as our draft. Draft's at 3:30. Nebraska plays at 10:30 in the morning. Draft's at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's going to be a good day next Saturday.
Got the draft.
Well, not next Saturday. I guess it'd be more closer to a week and a half from now. But
no. So there's this Saturday, which is the 20th.
Yeah.
Next Saturday is our draft.
Sometimes to me, next Saturday is the one coming up. So
that's this Saturday.
I get it. Semantics. Each person kind of has their own feel when it comes to how they classify that stuff. But yes, in your context, next Saturday is the one.
Next Saturday is our draft. Yeah, I've got the draft on the 27th. Something else is draft 27th. On the 28th, I'm still debating of going up and getting some more autographs. Javonte Williams and Patrick Surtain. They're doing Justin Simmons, Caden Stearns. There's a bunch of them. But those are the two. I still want to get Javonte to sign my draft helmet that I got Surtain to sign last year. And then I'd like to get my jersey signed. I'd like to get that jersey I wore to Dallas signed and frame that one up.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one.
And then the following weekend, after that, I have 9 Inch Nails on Friday night. Another fantasy draft Saturday at O'Malley's. And then
O'Malley's? You're doing a draft at O'Malley's?
Yeah, upstairs.
Nice. Is that Sam's League?
Yeah.
I might just come crash that shit.
Yeah, dude. Come hang out. We got some guys from out of town that are coming, so come hang out.
Tell Durant I'm taking over his team, even though he just got invited.
How did Durant get an invite? I don't know.
Oh, goodness. No, that's cool. I have not been upstairs in O'Malley's in probably a decade. Now that I think about it, that's wild. I almost forgot they even had an upstairs.
we had Hannah's grandma's like wake up there, and it was a cool spot. Enough room. Air. If I remember right, they had air conditioning, so that
Dude, I
helps.
remember used to open those windows and climb out onto the roof and hang out way back in the day. Love that place.
So
Best wings in Colorado for show.
I know I got to bring this up as we transition into sports. I thought we should at least mention college football top 25 got released.
It did.
And I know you love college football.
I do.
It is, I mean, not a surprise. Alabama's number one. I mean, returning Bryce Young as the Heisman. They were, I mean, if Jamison Williams doesn't get hurt and Mechie's not hurt, that game against Georgia might have been closer. Although Georgia had an all-time defense to go with, pretty darn good offense too. So got Ohio State at 2.
Georgia
Ohio State
3.
was weak last year. They got blasted by Michigan.
They were only weak in the sense that their defense wasn't playing up to par, and a lot of that probably was on the defensive coordinator. They dumped him. They brought in a new defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State who blew my mind. I actually just heard this stat today. He had the 5th-ranked defense in the country last year at Oklahoma State in the Big 12, which is crazy. So he comes over to Ohio State where they're going to have talent for days. Ohio State's going to have the best offense in the country.
They also, like, that Ohio State defense lost a lot the previous 2 seasons to the NFL of their top defensive players.
It did.
So they took a little bit of a step back last year. A lot of youth on the defense. So
yeah, a little bit of a down year, but not a surprise.
I just when I see that ranking, I'm like, wait, Georgia, and again, Georgia 3, I'm still kind of like, well, I mean, they lost a lot on defense.
Like, they lost basically their whole defense, dude. Like, I mean, and Kirby might be able to reload and keep going. This is going to be the test for sure this year with him. But they'll win the SEC East. Bama will win the SEC West, and they'll play in the championship.
I did have an issue. Oklahoma at 9.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't think Oklahoma's going to be good.
Nebraska's going to, quote unquote, upset them week 4. Nebraska almost beat them last year. They lost by a score because of turnovers at the end of the game. So
I don't know much about NC State.
Makes no sense to me.
NC State's at 13. I don't know a whole lot about them right now. USC being 14. USC with Lincoln Riley, a lot of their transfers and recruits.
Yeah, they're gonna be.
There's nothing out in the Pac-12 right now.
Oregon should still be good.
Utah's going to be good.
Than that, Utah, I'm not sold on Utah yet.
I think Utah's going to be pretty good
years here recently, but that's with the Pac-12 being down.
Utah's ranked 7, so
yeah, they are.
I think Utah's going to be good.
Utah surprised me a little bit, and there's a lot of people upset Notre Dame sitting at 5. They don't think Notre Dame has what they need to be that high. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds too, because they play Notre Dame plays Ohio State week 1, if I'm remembering right.
Yes.
So that's going to be that could get real ugly real fast for Notre Dame.
I was pretty happy to see my Hurricanes on the list.
That's because of the coach you got in the offseason, Mario Cristobal.
The quarterback's not bad either. The quarterback's pretty good.
Van Dyke is not bad. Van Dyke is not bad. The smartest thing Cristobal has done since he became the Hurricane coach was retire the turnover chain, which is the dumbest thing I've seen in college football, and I don't even know how long. And the fact that the coaches kept allowing that to be part of the team dynamic when they were losing all the time, it was a terrible look. Get rid of that shit for sure. So that was smart of him. Now let's see if he can get the product on the field back to where it needs to be.
Yeah. So I thought I would mention that. I know it's starting up here, 2 weeks?
Yeah, Nebraska plays, they call it 0 week now, so it's not technically week 1 because not all teams play, but Nebraska's playing Northwestern over in Ireland. This is a game that was supposed to happen 2 years ago, right before COVID hit. And it was a real big deal. And it's kind of fallen off a little bit since then. But they play over in Ireland, Dublin, Northwestern, week 0, the 27th. And then the official start of college football is the following week. So there's a couple teams that'll play week 0, but it's not the full slate yet.
Nebraska, Scott Frost has got to start putting some wins up, man. It's time.
If he doesn't win this year, he probably doesn't keep his job. I think he's got to get at least 7. But when I look at the schedule, honestly, based on last year, the fact that they lost that 7 games they lost last year by 1 score, most in history. And it was just turnovers, man. Poor timing turnovers, and a lot of them came from the quarterback. They've got what by many consider a legit quarterback transfer, Casey Thompson from Texas. A lot of talent on that team. Nobody's ever doubted the talent. So they could surprise some people. I'm not going to throw a number out there because I feel like I'll curse my guys. But I've got a number in my head that would not surprise me at all, and I think it would surprise a lot of people.
Pretty much like what you've done for the last decade. So, let's not do that.
No. I'm not the curse to Nebraska. When my brother and I were born, Nebraska went on a run of the decade, put 2 of the best teams in the history of college football on the map after we were born. So it is not my brother and I that are the issue. It's everybody that came after us that started growing up watching them. Here's the deal. My son was born. They almost turned it around last year. This is the year it's going to start going. Merrick is the key to the cog that gets the big red train rolling again. I have faith. Plus, he's got the red curly hair. It's fate, man. It's fate. It's meant to happen.
The only baseball thing I had, real quick, and we're not the biggest baseball guys, but, we kind of pay attention. Aaron Judge is on a freaking tear, man.
So that's one of a couple stories that I'll discuss here. Aaron Judge is on all-time pace right now. And for many people, he is on pace to break the home run record because they don't consider McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds to be legit on those record books. I'll say 2 things about this. One, Aaron Judge is going to break the Yankee record. He's going to beat Roger Maris's record this year. I fully believe that.
61?
61. He's at 45 right now. 46. I believe he beats Roger Maris's record. I don't think he gets to Bonds. I don't think he gets anywhere close to that. I think Judge will finish around 63, 64 maybe. But that's where I think Judge will finish. But he's on an MVP pace right now.
Also a contract year as well.
That's where I was going to go next with him. He bet on himself. Yankees offered him kind of a lowball deal in his mind. And there are some Yankee fans now that are worried that they will not be able to re-sign him because somebody else will pay him more and they're going to lose him. Now, it says a lot to be a Yankee for life, and long-term financial stability that brings is very hard to pass up. You go down as a Yankee legend, you go down in baseball lore as an all-time great, and that pays for years after baseball's done. So we'll see how that works itself out in the offseason, but they're gonna have to open up the bag for him for sure.
The Yankees are kind of like the Lakers and the Cowboys. Like if you're one of the stars of those teams, you have a lot of other opportunities that come with that as well.
Yep.
And I think even if you're making a little bit less salary-wise, you make up for that in other areas.
Absolutely. So along with that, any baseball fan who says they're a true baseball fan and watched baseball during the steroid era and didn't say a goddamn word needs to shut their goddamn mouths, and I don't want to hear anything from them. All these baseball purists that were rooting for the game back then need to start just bowing their heads and admitting that they were wrong and they allowed it to happen because baseball knew steroids were there. Baseball encouraged the use of steroids, and baseball promoted the use of steroids to bring the game back after the strike.
They sure did.
So for anybody saying those records don't count, they're not there, they shouldn't be allowed, those guys shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, yada, yada, I don't want to hear any of it because you were the enablers. Every step of the way, you enabled all of that to happen and you supported it. So I'm tired of hearing all these baseball purists and traditionalists saying those records don't exist, they shouldn't count, that's not the real record. Nah, man, you weren't saying that when it was happening. You weren't condoning baseball for allowing it to happen.
Right.
This is ridiculous. It's a joke. So I'm so sick of that topic and that conversation. They need to be done with it. Let them into the Hall of Fame. Make those the records. If you don't like it, too bad. It's part of the game. You allowed for it to continue, and you didn't do anything about it when it was going down. So the records are what they are. And that's how I feel about it. I'm tired of the complaining.
I still think, again, I still think Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer in my mind. I think Roger Clemens is a Roger Clemens and Curt Schilling are Hall of Famers. What they
Curt Schilling's not in because of political views. He got blackballed because of things he said outside of baseball.
But that has nothing to do with what he did on the mound.
It doesn't. Roger Clemens is PED, so Roger should be in as well. Pete Rose, I have a bit of a problem with because until you can justify and prove to me with 100% certainty that he didn't bet in a way that he was doing things to help his team lose, he doesn't deserve to be in. And from everything I've read, all the research I've done, and it's been fairly extensive with that stuff, Rose in his bookie had a deal where if he didn't bet that day, the team was losing. If he bet, they were winning. To me, that says there was something more than just, trying to bet when I thought my team was going to win stuff. It felt to me like he was pulling more strings on those days where they lost to lose. So until it can be proven with 100% certainty that the days he didn't bet and they lost had nothing to do with him and how he was managing the team, then you can put him in. But until you can prove that to me, he has to stay out because there's too many question marks and red flags there that could be, how do I want to say this? They can jeopardize the integrity of the game, in my opinion. It's not like Calvin Ridley betting when he's injured and betting on the Falcons to win. That's a whole different subject, and we can talk about that another time, obviously, but that's not what Rose was doing, and he was doing it for a long time. It wasn't just a couple games. It wasn't just half a season. It was a whole lot. So until somebody can tell me with 100% certainty Rose not betting had nothing to do with losing games, put him in. I'm on board 100% because what he did on the field was amazing. And I'd even be okay with, because by all accounts he wasn't betting when he was a player. He didn't start betting on games until he was a manager. So if you want to put him into the Hall as a player and on his plaque throw in there his egregiousness that he did as a coach, as a manager, and put that on the plaque in Cooperstown, I'm good with that too. But if you're trying to just put him in and not mention it, I can't. I mean,
they'll never put him in. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But
so, and then you've got on a different subject. I know that was the baseball topic you had, but there's two other kind of big stories going down. One is still dealing with the Yankees. They are 2-9. I believe they're 2-9 since they traded Joey Gallo to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are like 10-1. So they've fallen off a cliff since they've traded Joey Gallo, and the Dodgers have gone on a run. I don't think it's a correlation. I don't think Joey Gallo is doing that for either team. I just think it's funny that the Yankees are making these moves and they're getting worse when they were on an all-time record pace before All-Star break. And since All-Star break, they've kind of fallen off the map. And the Dodgers actually have picked up their pace, and they are approaching territory where they could get to that all-time record. I don't think they'll get there, but they're pushing. I
don't think anybody's hitting 116, but
not this year probably. But the Dodgers are on a run. And they're only getting hotter. So they're definitely going to get close. I could see them getting 110, 111 right in that ballpark and being real close to that. So that'll be interesting to watch as it goes down. And then the third story is Fernando Tatis Jr. testing positive for Peds right before he makes his rehab assignment return to be part of the San Diego Padres again. And him and Juan Soto team up, and that team was supposed to go on a run. He says he took something. Now I'm going to draw a blank what it was for. He took some medication for something. I'm going to have to look it up. But he took something and came back, tested positive. He apologized for it. And what he said it was for, I'm going to pull it up here. I thought was an absolute joke of an excuse. Let me see here. Hang on. Let me pull this up real quick here.
It's been crazy. They've spent. I think the Padres have done such a good job.
Ringworm. He said he took the medication for ringworm to treat ringworm, and it had a substance in it that's on the ban list for PEDs, and that's why he tested positive. Bullshit. What a joke. What an absolute joke to use that excuse. With everything that they have at their disposal, the fact that he was still rehabbing through the team and stuff, if you get ringworm, the team's not assigning you something that's going to have PEDs in it to treat the ringworm. Why would you self-treat if you know that could be a possibility?
But if you have something like that, they can get an exception if what he's
Doctors
taking
can.
is – yeah.
Absolutely. Doctors can get an exception, say this is how it needs to be treated so that they know how long you're using it, when you started, when you stopped, and it's not an issue. So for him to come out and say, I self-treated for ringworm and it had a banned substance and I should have been smarter, and what a joke. Now, again, I'll say it again. Any baseball fan who believes that excuse, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want you to say anything about my bad takes. I don't want you to say anything about my thoughts on baseball. Like, shut your mouth. You're dumber than he is if you believe that excuse. What a joke. Ringworm. Self-medicating for ringworm. Oh, my God. So dumb. So dumb. So he's gone. And he decided not to appeal so he could start serving his suspension now so that it doesn't carry over halfway through next season because it's an 80-game suspension. So he'll get, I don't know what it is, 30, 40 games right now, and he'll serve the other 30, 40, or 40, 50, whatever it is at the start of next season, and he'll be back, middle of June probably next year. So dumb, dude. Just absolutely dumb.
I just these guys have so much nutrition, workouts. They've got everything at their fingertips to monitor everything they're doing and everything they put in their body. It just doesn't make any sense.
No. Nope, not at all. I'd have been more on his side if he had come out and been like, I was rehabbing, I was lifting really heavy, I got some stuff, thought I could get away with it, I didn't. I'd have been like, all right, cool. Respect that. I get it. Rehab sucks. You wanted to try and make it a little quicker, a little better. Happens, deal with it, move on. You come out with ringworm and you took some self-medication, I'm going to say you're a dumbass and I'm not rooting for you ever again probably. So now everybody makes mistakes. The dude's like 23 or 24. So he's got his whole career ahead of him still. But the thing is even at that age, and I can only speak for myself, but I had plenty of good people around me who would tell me the right things to say, but I was still going to be my own man and say what I needed to say. So if he came up with that excuse on his own, and then everybody backed him on it and said, yeah, go with that story, he needs to fire everybody around him. Everybody. Everyone needs to go. You need to start a whole new posse. If somebody told him that's what he needed to say and he ran with it, then he's the dumbass for going, oh, that'll work? Okay, yeah, let's go with that. That's a good idea then. So somebody's really dumb. I'm just not sure who it is.
I'm not taking any guesses on that one. He might just be young and dumb.
Hey, I mean, and we're all there, so I try not to fault him too much for it, but god dang, that's stupid. Ringworm. At that level, man, with all the things you have available to you to come out and say I self-medicated for ringworm and tested, like, no. Dude,
I don't think they were close enough to really make a real run, but
yeah, especially with him coming back with that bat in the lineup, that would have been dangerous. That's almost as bad as all those fighters back in the day who were saying they went to Mexico and ate some bad meat and then tested positive before their fights for stuff in their system. Like, bro, if you know there's bad meat down there, don't eat it. Like, it's not that hard. Put some shrimp in your body and come home and have a steak. Like, dude, that's not worth giving up $10 million. Get your shit together.
Let's see. What else do we have? Well, let's move on to football because, that's about all I got for baseball.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we're done with baseball.
So
I don't even want to go into basketball right now because Kevin Durant is a clown. So I'm not even going to touch that subject right now. I'm going to let that breathe a little bit more. And see what happens.
Disagreements from me.
Clown, dude. Absolute clown.
So
he is, I will say this in passing. He is losing spots on my all-time list, talent-wise, just because of how he's handling this shit.
I mean, I don't move him down talent-wise, but obviously the dude's kind of a head case.
He is definitely nowhere near my top 10 anymore.
I mean, unfortunately, it's like, hey, man, like, if we trade you, we have to get so much in return to make it worth us trading you. And nobody's offering what we need to make us a better team while trading you. So, like, if you want to sit out and not collect your money, like, that's cool, I guess.
I'd do it and I'm glad the owner came out and said what he said, that he's supporting the front office and the coaching staff, because as far as I'm concerned, I let KD sit and rot in his prime years. And I will find talent to play without him, and I'll pay him to just stay at home. That's a clown move, bro. What a joke. Okay, move on. I don't want to go into that subject anymore.
So I did want to talk about something that it really hurt my heart this week. And it was the youth football game down in Texas. And as I helped coach youth football with Andy, and we've been where football is a passionate sport, and emotions run high, tempers flare up, but it should never flare up to the point that you're fighting other coaches in front of your players. And it should definitely not flare up to the point where somebody pulls out a gun and shoots a guy.
No, that's just I got lost for words when I read that story.
And I just because I have seen it. I've even here in Colorado, I had seen situations where it was close to punches being thrown between coaching staffs, which made no sense to me. You want to yell back and forth, disagree, like, that's fine. But what are you teaching your players, right? Teach your players to man up, take that L, walk off the field. We'll talk about it once we're, alone, right?
Yep.
There's no reason to escalate things. what's also sad about this is, unfortunately, and again, I love the guy. It's Aqib Talib's brother as well, is the one that shot the guy. And Aqib Talib was there at the
Yeah, I
game,
read that.
which is probably why his brother was able to hide for about a day and a half before someone talked him into, hey, you need to turn yourself in. Like, there's enough eyewitnesses, like, they know you did it. Like, you're not helping yourself by being on the run.
Yeah, just.
But I can't imagine for those kids to see that and deal with that, and know that their coach is dead over a game. It saddens me. So
Yeah,
parents,
at that point, there's dumb decisions, and then there's decisions you make that you have plenty of time to do something different about, and you should get the book thrown at you for. And that's one of those that he should get the book thrown at him for.
he probably will. I just, there's so many eyewitnesses. I don't think there's a way he can get out of it. He wants to tell he turned himself in so he can tell his side of the story.
There's no side of the story there, though, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I'm like, did he pull a knife on you? Like, there's certain scenarios I'm like, okay, did he do something that then you felt completely threatened that the only option you had was to shoot the man?
Yeah, and by all accounts, there's nothing like that going around. So, disagreement. He didn't like the words that were spoken to him, and he decided to end somebody's life because of it. Is the gist that I've gotten out of that story.
So
that's life in prison, no parole in my book.
I hope the kids are able to bounce back from that. Use that as a learning experience of never let your emotions get that far, take you that far. Calm yourself,
Yeah, there's and I've said this to many youth that I've coached. I've said it to my own son who's 20 now. I've said it to people I've played with. Showing emotions is fine. I'm never against showing your emotions. Make them public. I got no problems with that ever. But there is a right way and a wrong way to show your emotions. And if you're not going to show them in the right way, don't show them at all. You can complain, you can be angry, you can be mad, you can be happy, you can be sad. It's how you show those feelings and what you do with them that define you. And there are definitely right ways and wrong ways to deal with and show those emotions. And if you're not going to do it in the right way, then bad things are going to happen. And a lot of people aren't shown those right ways to deal with emotions. You know what I mean? Like, so, don't make it personal. Like you said, it's a game. It shouldn't be personal. What's said in between those lines should never, I've had some stuff said to me that, I say now in 2022 and people are going to think I'm lying. But, I've had stuff said to me at basketball courts, soccer fields that it'd make people cringe for sure. But I never took it personally. It was always in the game, part of the game, the trash talking with the game, and it's in between the lines. Now, if somebody said it outside, if they said some of these things outside of the game, I would have taken it very differently and handled it very differently. But for the most part, as far as I was concerned, you can say whatever you want to me in between those lines. And I'm not going to take it with me outside of those lines. And it really didn't matter how personal it was either, because the more personal it got, for me at least, the more personal somebody made their comments, the more I knew I was getting to them, and I was only going to make it worse on them. So I used that. And that, that was kind of coached by some really good people in my life to me. When people start making it personal with their comments, you're getting to them. You're getting in their head. You're affecting their play. Keep doing it. And jab that needle in a little bit more and twist it. And
you were that guy.
They can say whatever they want in between those lines. They came up to me after the game though and said something. It was a different story. But yeah, say what you want in between the lines, man. I never had an issue with it. Never had a problem with it. And sometimes it made it a lot of fun too. Because if they weren't trying to make it personal, they were just trying to get in your head with some comments. I'd go Larry Bird on him. It's one of the reasons I love Larry Bird so much, man. Like just hearing his stories growing up and things he would say to people and just sly under the table, kind of like, damn, he really just said that and then did that to us? Like, damn, that's cold.
He backed up every bit of it. That's for sure.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So from one guy who's getting locked up and to another guy who feels like a dead man walking. I don't know if you could pick out what coach right now feels like a dead man walking.
What coach?
What coach in the NFL after this week of preseason really seems like a dead man walking? Like he has no authority, no say. His players probably just don't really respect him. And I could be wrong by this, but that's just the feeling I got watching the game.
I'm drawing a blank. Who are you talking about?
Our buddy Blair's favorite coach, Mike McCarthy.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I'm still amazed that Jerry's employing him, to be perfectly honest with you.
I mean, I think he had two guys. He had two candidates in-house that he could have replaced him with. Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore. And I think the fan base would get behind either one of those.
I think he could actually do something really unique down there. And by week 4, let McCarthy go. Let them co-head coach. Honestly, Dan Quinn's done it before. So he already has an idea of how to roll with a program. Help him teach Kellen Moore what to do. And let them kind of go at it together. I think you could have an amazing opportunity.
We could get that. That could happen. Their starting schedule is brutal.
Vicious.
Brutal. And again, it's preseason. You can't take a lot for preseason. It was 2s and 3s out there. Like starters for the Broncos and the Cowboys didn't really play. But you could just like the Cowboys had like 17 penalties accepted. They had like 20 penalties total. There was nothing that said that this guy has got this team prepared to play.
Not a thing. Not a thing.
Yeah, I am completely out on the Cowboys this year. I was looking, I was like, man, if I make a couple bucks here in the preseason, I'm going to stamp that Eagles win the division because it's still plus like 160. Eagles win the division.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be releasing our schedule here in a couple weeks. It's getting closer. We're going to have to – there's a reason we did it early so that we had a baseline and then we could adjust because we knew things would happen preseason and whatnot. The Browns probably are going to have a big change from us.
They probably will need to change those numbers. Let's see.
Yeah, Dallas could be another one that we might have to go back and revisit because that's it's an indication of the way things are being handled in-house. And I know, like as a Nebraska fan, I can say, yeah, a lot of it's on the players, and they need to execute and. Like Scott Frost had to have enough guys to field a team and a program, so he couldn't just get rid of everybody that came from the last coaching staff, But in the NFL, you kind of could. Like, you could overhaul real quick if you wanted to. So a lot of it's on Jerry because, like, their offensive lineman they drafted, everybody and their mom said before the draft that this dude's a walking penalty waiting to happen. And that's still who Jerry wanted.
And he had 2 in the first quarter.
Right. Exactly. So a lot of it's going to be on the personnel guys, but at the same time, the way the coach practices, the way he runs meetings, the way he handles his business can have a big effect on that stuff too. And I've seen huge improvement year in and year out with Nebraska. I haven't seen anything that makes me think McCarthy is turning the corner in the right direction. It's staying the same or getting worse, right? So
what's funny is, like, I felt like when Garrett was a guy that was just mediocre at everything, And you needed a coach to really change the culture and change the attitude. And he just brought in a guy who doesn't do any of that. And
I agree with that. He didn't bring in a guy to do anything. I still think Garrett gets a bad rap. There were a couple years there that if they don't have injuries, they very easily could have won the Super Bowl. The NFL screwed them, as Blair likes to bring up all the time. That was a catch in Green Bay. They should have been going to the Super Bowl.
Well,
those things go different, and Garrett's looked at as a very different coach.
They still would have had to go to Seattle and beat Seattle. I don't know if that happens, but they would have had a shot. But yeah, that was a catch. We all know that was a catch.
You know what I mean, though? Like, Garrett just had some really bad Jerry Jones luck that he is taking the heat for.
I mean, Garrett's like most coaches. If you have that much talent under you, you could win games. But overall, when your talent's not – so there's certain coaches, when the talent's not there, can still win a couple games because they're good coaches. He's not one of those guys. But I wouldn't say he's trash.
I kind of disagree a little bit, and I only say that because I think Jerry Jones has instilled a bad luck syndrome that will be on that franchise until he is no longer the owner. And I think he did it when he got his ego involved and got rid of Jimmy Johnson. He could have had 2 more Super Bowls with Jimmy Johnson. I have no doubt in my mind that Jimmy Johnson could have gotten him 2 more Super Bowls.
They probably go 9. They would have won 95. They probably could have won 96 and gone back to back that year.
So, but he didn't want Jimmy Johnson getting the credit publicly, so he got rid of him. And he hadn't won since. So Jerry Jones' legacy, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be a guy who let his ego get in the way and couldn't win. That's Jerry Jones' legacy to me. Not the 3 Super Bowls that he won with Jimmy Johnson, because that was all Jimmy Johnson.
We won 2 with Jimmy, 1 with Barry Switzer.
That was Jimmy Johnson.
It was Jimmy Johnson's team, but
that was Jimmy Johnson. That was not Barry. Barry Switzer gets to put his name on the trophy, but that was still Jimmy Johnson.
So I didn't have a lot from preseason. I did notice, which is a growing trend, which I don't mind at all, but lots of teams are not playing their starters in preseason, which makes sense to me. I like it, although it does change a little bit of the dynamic of like when we're wanting to watch the game. Now, again, I like watching rookies. I like watching backups and like, are they getting better? How are they doing? Like, I like that. But again, we're a little, we've got some deep seated, like we love everything about the NFL. Not everybody's wired that way.
True. But I think it also makes for a better product during the regular season, to be honest with you, because they're doing a lot more of the joint practices and things of that nature during training camp and the offseason.
I just want my guys healthy.
Yeah.
Get my team healthy to week 1. Like, I don't think we'll see Russell Wilson in the preseason at all. And I don't think there's a reason.
I actually think he gets a series or 2 this week.
I just don't. I don't think I against one of the top defenses in the league, if they play some of their starters, I don't see Russell going out there.
It'll be interesting. If he doesn't play this week, he's definitely not playing next week. So,
because again, Nathaniel Hackett coming from Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers didn't play at all in the preseason last year.
I don't think that had anything to do with the coaching staff not wanting him to. I think that had everything to do with Aaron Rodgers saying, "I'm above you. Deal with it. I'm not going out there to play."
I don't think Russell Wilson needs it. I
would agree with that. I'd agree with that. He doesn't need it. I think Russ is the kind of guy, though, who wants it. I think that's the difference.
And we'll see if he wins out.
The dude's doing make-believe huddles by himself, pregame warm-ups. Like, he's just wired different. You know what I mean? Like, it's just him.
And I don't know how this will translate to wins and losses this season. I think we still did project them to do fairly well. But Trey Lance should be fun to watch, if anything else, just from what he did in the preseason game.
We projected them all right, but it took some serious convincing on my part to get you there. You are not big on Trey Lance.
I am a Trey Lance guy. I had him over Fields, Lawrence. I'm a Trey Lance guy.
And then last year you kind of fell off that because of what you saw in a couple of games.
I just said he needed more seasoning to get to that point where he's going to be an upper echelon quarterback. So he's got there's nobody else going to play. He's going to play. It's sink or swim right now for him. But again, when you can run, he's kind of like Kaepernick. He can run when he needs to, and he can throw that ball deep downfield.
Kaepernick was so overrated.
I don't think Kaepernick was great in any means because, again, he couldn't hit the 10-yard slant to save his life. So, again, I don't think that's great. I'm just saying, like, when you look at their ability to run and when you throw a ball deep, they can both throw a good deep ball. It's what can you do when a team is guarding you and you got to hit the open guy. Can you do it? 49ers should be a good team if he can learn to do that without, and trying to minimize mistakes.
With that talent around him, with that coaching staff, Trey Lance is a dark horse MVP.
Not a chance. There's no chance. There's no chance. I guarantee it right now. There is no chance Trey Lance will be in the MVP conversation.
Dark horse potential to be an MVP.
There's none. There's
Why?
none. It won't be. I'm telling you. He's not going to beat out Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Herbert.
I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying he's a dark horse candidate.
To even put him on the list is pretty absurd.
Dude's going to go, call it 3,800 passing yards. Let's say 28 to 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, another 600 to 700 yards rushing, and another 8 touchdowns.
I don't think he'll throw that much. I don't think he'll get 3,800.
You don't think he'll 35. Throw as much as Jimmy G?
I don't think he will throw. I think you'll see games where he has 170 yards, and then you'll see games where he'll have like 350. I just don't think it'll be consistent to get up to where you're almost to 4,000. I just don't see it from him.
So last year, Jimmy G himself put up 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in 15 games. So you're telling me
those numbers don't scream MVP. Even 3,800, 25 touchdowns, and 700 yards rushing does not scream MVP at all.
Again, didn't say he was going to be MVP. I said he's a dark horse candidate to be MVP.
He's not a dark horse candidate.
My point being, I think I'm light on the 3,800 yards. You think Kyle Shanahan's going to throw less with Trey Lance than he did Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think they would throw maybe on par, possibly, if he completes all those passes, sure. But they're going to run the football. That's what San Francisco does. They're going to run the football. They're going to play good defense. They're going to do play action. I just don't think he's going to have to throw that much. And I think they're going to keep him – they're going to expand the playbook as it goes. I just don't think I don't think you're going to see like that explosion passing that you're thinking he will have. I just don't see it.
I'm not expecting an explosion. I'm just expecting it to be a little bit more than what they do with Jimmy Garoppolo.
I don't. Not passing wise. But again, we still predicted him to do fairly well. But watching him in preseason has been fun. And I'm just saying, when you watch the 49ers, you should get a fun product out there, whether they win or lose.
A lot of
and that's all I want as a football. That's all I want as a football fan. I want to enjoy seeing things that you don't normally see.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Hard Knocks started. It's on the Detroit Lions, which to me, there's nothing like super interesting about the Lions except for their head coach.
I disagree. There's a lot of talent on that team, especially the offensive side of the ball now.
It doesn't matter if you have talent. It's just about like what's intriguing. To me, there's nothing really intriguing. Like there were multiple teams that they could have picked that would have been more intriguing to watch than the Lions. But
Who was
I
it
like
last
Dan.
year?
Who was it last year? I thought it was the Raiders. No, not the. Was it the Raiders last year?
Nope. That was 2 years ago.
Well, who was it last year? I don't remember.
I didn't watch last year. I didn't care.
I watched it, but it wasn't
I
very.
remember last year. There was nothing intriguing about it at all to me. So at
I
least they
didn't
got Dan
find.
Campbell.
I didn't find anything intriguing about the Lions to say yes. I would want to watch this.
Dan Campbell alone is worth watching. Love me some Dan Campbell.
I mean, Hard Knocks in season was
the Colts.
The Colts.
I didn't watch that either.
Was it the Cowboys last year?
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah,
Micah
it was the
Parsons,
Cowboys last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Which was okay, but
more storylines there, and I could care less about it. I'm watching Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell does some interesting things. I will say, I know. So one of the things you see them in a practice, like full on tackling drills, full on like just really just going at each other. It's very dangerous to do that, and I know why he did it. And I don't fault him for it. When you've got a team that you're trying to teach to win, and one of your philosophies is you need to be tougher than the man across from you, like then you have to do some of those things to make those guys tough. But it's very risky to do that if one of your top players goes down with an injury.
They didn't have issues doing it for 65 years up until 5-6 years ago when everything tried to change. So
they also
I don't want to hear it's dangerous.
Again, they practiced a lot more then than they do today. So those like doing that one practice, it just leads to possible more injury because they're just not used to doing that. But
that's why you have to do it.
Again, it was just one of the things I noticed that I was like, I don't know if I would have done that in today's age, because again, you're a team that's not good enough to overcome an injury to one of your top players.
I think they have the talent on the offensive side of the ball and the right head coach right now to where Detroit could be seriously a contender in the next 2 to 3 years.
Sure, but if you got one of those top guys hurt right now, they don't have the depth to, replace that right now.
Well, and that's why I say 2 to 3 years, because you still have to build that. You have to continuously draft correctly. You have to do the right things in free agency, which they haven't done in ever, honestly.
That's because they have to overpay. Nobody wants to go to Detroit. There's just no reason to go to Detroit except for they're going to pay me a lot more money than anybody else. So.
Yeah, Barry Sanders, and you never built around him. There's things you could have done drastically different. You took 4 wide receivers with your first overall pick 4 years in a row that everybody said weren't the right wide receivers if you were going to do that. So, the organization has just been terribly run for a very long time. And they've finally got a guy in place that seems like he's able to get the right voice in there, and people are starting to follow suit, and front office is starting to go with him, and everything's moving in the right direction.
I think Dan Campbell's at least got a voice that people will listen to. All of his coaches are former players, so they've all gone through it. It's like, hey, I know what it takes. I've seen it. I've done it, So we'll see. I think the Lions will be fun to watch this year. I think they'll be competitive. I think we did have them winning more games than they had won the previous year, but I just don't see them as a compelling team to have on Hard Knocks myself. But I'm going to watch it regardless.
Fair.
So let's try to run down these real quick here. We missed the AFC North, so we'll come back to that. I'm pretty confident, even after our rankings. I can't see the Cleveland Browns being anything other than the last place team in the division. And I'm not sure if that's really
it's all going to depend on what happens with Deshaun Watson. It's all there's so much talent on that football team, dude. So much talent.
But their schedule is pretty tough. That with Deshaun Watson, we can see them winning some games. Without Deshaun Watson, I don't know if they win any of their first 6 games. At least right now, he's suspended 6. I don't know if they win any of those games without him.
Why?
I just quarterback play matters a lot, and I have not seen anything from Jacoby Brissett that tells me that they can win football games with him consistently. Could they sneak in a win? Sure.
I think based on his NFL career, he is a slightly above average game manager.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far. Jimmy Garoppolo is an above average game manager.
I think Jacoby and Jimmy are one and the same in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Jacoby did with the Colts was good. When he had talent around him, it was good. Like legit good. Not great, which is why they went out and drafted somebody, but it was good. If you go back and look at his record with the Colts, he did not play bad.
So,
but they're definitely not a Super Bowl contender with Brissett like they would be with Deshaun Watson.
I don't know. After he played this weekend, he's got to knock some of that rust off.
Well, that was kind of the whole point of him playing preseason, though, and we figured it would take him 3 to 4 weeks of regular season football to get back to looking like himself. So, it's they're not just screwed this year if he gets a years-long suspension. They're screwed for the next 4. Because if he sits out a whole another season, he's never going to get back to where he was, ever. And you've got so many contracts and so much money tied up into him and some of these other guys, you're not going to be able to keep all that talent around him anymore. So this is kind of a one-and-done situation for the Browns. And if he doesn't play this year, guys aren't going to come play there after this because you're never going to be able to put the product on the field to make them want to.
He's absolutely getting more than 6 games. And they can't, from what I understand, they can't appeal until after the 6th game, like whatever the new suspension is, because it's already 6 games and they already like accepted it.
He can't appeal even after the new one comes down. The only thing he can do is take it to court and hope that they put an injunction on it.
He could take it to civil court and they could review it, but the courts have always come back in favor of the NFL.
Yeah, because it's in a collective bargaining agreement that you agreed to.
Correct.
Like, they're not going to go against that. You agreed to this process.
So all it does is delay it. It doesn't. So they could look for an injunction that would get him to play the rest of the year. But then if he got suspended a year, then he'd still have more games following next year. So that's another whole season lost. You might as well just take it this year.
And by all accounts, everything I'm hearing, he's getting a year.
Which I still think he somewhat served some of that last year for the situation, but he got paid.
No, he didn't serve any of that last year for the situation.
I mean, he didn't play at all and he got paid, but
that's why he didn't not play because there was a punishment. He did not play because the Texans didn't want the press. Because they knew, it's still blowing my mind that it's getting swept under the rug as much as it is, they are culpable in all of this. The Texans assisted in all of this.
I mean, well, they already settled. They already paid that money.
I know, but they're not going to get punished.
So the Browns, as we all know, they traded the farm for Deshaun Watson. They did pick up Amari Cooper as well, who, when he wants to play, is one of the best receivers in the NFL when he wants to play. That was about it for their additions. They re-signed some of their own guys. The guys they drafted, Martin Emerson is a corner. Alex Wright's a defensive end. David Bell is a wide receiver. That was a guy I know you're high on. So hopefully he can help, whenever Watson comes back, hopefully help.
He's an Anquan Bolden Jr., in my opinion.
So when I looked at the line, the over-under for the Browns for wins was not listed because obviously they have no idea. They can't take money on something that could change.
Yeah, Vegas isn't going to let that bet go down right now.
So, as I have a Browns fan in the house, I hope the best for them, but I do feel bad for Browns fans because they really didn't have a say in this. You know, they were getting so hyped up for Super Bowl, and I don't know if I think that window might close on them, unfortunately.
Pittsburgh's going to be a contender in that division because they always are with
So,
Tomlin. They've got some talent, but the race is really between Cincy and Baltimore.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's the next team. Again, they added Mitchell Trubisky. They picked up Miles Jack at linebacker. They picked up James Daniels to play guard. That was a pretty good pickup for them. They drafted Kenny Pickett at quarterback, and they drafted George Pickens at wide receiver. I still don't like the Pickett pick myself because I feel like I don't think he's any different than Mitch. So just roll with Mitch. Like, why waste that draft pick on a guy? Like, I feel like he's maybe when he's at his height, maybe he'll be marginally better than Mitch. But you don't draft a guy to be marginally better than the guy you have. You draft a guy to be, you know, on a whole different level than what you have.
Yeah, I agree. I don't with the talent that was still on the board when they took Pickett, they could have definitely filled some holes.
Because I mean, Mitch, I guess, from what he did, I think he had 2 series. I think they scored 10 points, or they scored on both of them. I thought he looked good.
Now, in Pickett's defense, he looked really good in his preseason debut. He was like 9 of 13, 2 touchdowns, 98 yards. Like, he looked really good, but it was against 3s and 4s.
Yeah, you always got to take that with a grain of salt. 3s and 4s. We got to. For me though, after that, I immediately bump him up over Mason Rudolph. Like, the fact that they're still playing Mason Rudolph over him made no sense at all.
Matt Canada apparently has a hard-on for Mason Rudolph, and that's why they can't get rid of him.
It just makes no sense. You've drafted a guy in the first round. He should have gotten those snaps after Trubisky left. Throw him in there against 2s and 3s. Let's see what he can do. And then let him start the final preseason game.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I think they got possibly the steal of the draft with George Pickens.
When healthy, George Pickens would have been a top 15 wide receiver if he was healthy. He just
There's some people say he was the most talented wide receiver in that draft last year. He just had some injury history and some off the field issues.
He could have been.
So he could be real special, which, let's be honest, the Steelers can do one thing right. It's draft wide receivers.
And then the Vegas does have their over-under at 7.5.
Which I think is crazy.
I struggle with that. I think if you get good football out of Mitch, that defense is good enough that you probably win more than –
They won more games than that last year with less talent, especially at the quarterback position. So why would they go less wins this year when they're better on paper?
We have to look at their sense. I think we had them at more than 7.5 wins, I think.
I don't want to say anything because we're not releasing it yet, but yeah.
I think we had them a little bit higher than that. Of course, again, it's going to be a fight between the Bengals and Ravens. I think the Bengals got better. I do think last season they had a lot of come-from-behind wins. They even came from behind in the championship game. That's hard to live and die by that, but sometimes that's magic. You don't get magic every season. So I don't know if they'll win the division, but I do think it's between them and Baltimore. They did add they added La'el Collins, play tackle, Hayden Hurst to play tight end, Alex Kappa to play guard, Ted Carreras to play center. They drafted Daxton Hill at safety, Cam Taylor-Britt at corner, which are all great pickups. Their over-under is 10, so Vegas definitely believes in them. I just saw there were games last year that they played down to their competition. Maybe they learned from that and they do better this year. But there were some games last year, like they almost lost to the Broncos last season. I mean, Jamar
Injuries,
Chase had like
man.
4 yards, man.
When you're missing half your team, shit's gonna happen.
I mean, they weren't missing any of their team. They just had, what was it? They didn't have a great O-line last year at all, for sure.
Injuries. They were on their 4th string running back.
No, Joe Mixon played that game.
Oh, my bad. I was thinking Baltimore. Yeah, the Bengals. No, my bad. I don't know why I'm thinking Baltimore the whole time. Yeah, the Bengals they overachieved last year. Got lucky. They didn't improve their offensive line. They're loaded offensively with talent. Their defense is incredibly suspect, in my opinion. I'm not sold on them yet. I think they put up huge fantasy numbers. I don't know if that equates to big wins on the field yet.
I think the Bengals' front 7 is pretty good. It's their back end, Eli Apple, William Jackson, Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates is really good, but there's that back end I think was kind of their issue. But Vegas has got them at 10 wins, so I could see
ballpark.
that. I could see them under 10 wins as well. I think the Ravens are going to win the division. I think their injuries last year is what really hurt them. And I think that defense has gotten better when Lamar's healthy and running, and they've got running backs that are running the ball. That team's just tough to stop. They just grind you down. And They play tough defense. And they picked up they got Michael Pierce back. He went and spent a year or 2 in Minnesota because they paid him a lot of money. They brought him back to play defensive tackle. They picked up Morgan Moses to play Morgan Moses. Yeah, that's his name. Moses to play offensive tackle. They drafted Kyle Hamilton at safety, who I love. I think that was a great pick at 14. They picked up Tyler Lindenbaum, arguably one of the better centers in the draft. And then late they picked up David Ojabo from Michigan. He might have a redshirt year this year.
He's probably not playing this year, but it's a good depth role as you go forward for sure.
And then they picked up Travis Jones to play defensive tackle. They always draft D linemen and O linemen really well. They did draft the offensive tackle as well, Daniel Falele from Minnesota. A big, like 6'8" offensive tackle. So I just think they're going to be a tough team. And when they're healthy and they can run the ball, they're just tough to beat. They're a good football team. So,
J.K. Dobbins stays healthy, and all you guys are going to be looking at me going, I guess Caleb wasn't that crazy when he said he's better than Zeke.
I mean, most people are better than Zeke right now.
I didn't say right now. I said coming out. And you guys all told me I was crazy, and Zeke
coming out was pretty damn good, man.
He was, and JK's better.
We haven't seen it yet. We'll see.
We've got glimpse. We got a glimpse the end of his rookie year, and he would have shown it last year, but that's all right. He'll show out this year.
The Vegas over/under is 9.5 on the Ravens. So I actually feel pretty good about the over.
Yeah, absolutely. Barring injury, they're gonna explode that.
Good night, baby.
Daddy.
Go. Stop messing with the dogs and get out of here. Nope.
I'm petting you.
Hold on. I'm going to yell at someone.
Oh, okay. That'll be fun. For those of you that are watching, we can take bets on what Pinky just mouthed to whoever is in the background. I'm sure we can all take a few guesses.
It was go to bed.
Yeah.
So AFC North, I actually probably have. They're probably the third best division. I still think AFC West, NFC West are probably the best, but I would put them real close with the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, if Deshaun plays all year, even if he doesn't, Arizona doesn't really do anything for me anymore, and Seattle is trash. So you're giving the
So
NFC West strictly based off of LA and San Francisco. That's
top tier teams. I do think the Cardinals will still be up there.
they'll be good, just not. I think they're on par with Pittsburgh, honestly. And then you've got Cincy and Baltimore that are on par with San Francisco and LA. And so it's really just what Cleveland does, and Cleveland's definitely better than Seattle. So I would say the AFC North is better than the NFC West.
I don't know if that happens if Watson's not playing. I don't have as much faith in them as you do.
Dude, just talent-wise on the roster, Cleveland is head and shoulders above Seattle, regardless of who they play at quarterback.
So
you're questioning that? Like,
I just haven't seen much from them. They underachieved a lot, even on defense last year. So I don't know. I don't know about their talent. They didn't do as much with their talent last year.
Pinky,
I know Baker was hurt.
I know we're not releasing our records yet, but you know what we did with Seattle. Cleveland is better than Seattle, even without Deshaun Watson.
They're better than Seattle.
By a lot. By a lot. Oh, goodness. All right. NFC North.
I mean, you pretty much know where I'm going here. I mean, the Chicago Bears are the worst team in that division. They may be one of the worst teams in the league.
They will be one of the worst teams in the league, and I feel terrible for Justin Fields.
I mean, their addition to help him was Byron Pringle and Equanimus St. Brown. I'm not even saying that right, but
are you forgetting the dude they got from New England, who's just a baller, in N'Keal Harry?
Sorry, they did get N'Keal Harry, who's already hurt again. So,
oh my gosh, I can't. Justin Fields has to just be sick every day he goes into work. But I will say, I think Cole Kmet breaks out this year. I think Darnell Mooney shows out this year, so he's got a little bit around him. But the offensive line is still trash. There's not much on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe this coaching staff will be better than people are giving them credit for, and they can get something out of them, but it's not looking good for Chicago.
It's looking bad. Their draft wasn't horrible. They did pick up Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, who looked great the other night in preseason, and Velus Jones, a wide receiver out of Tennessee. Those guys all looked like they could be players, but just not enough to help them move the needle. Their over-under is 6.5. I would bet the under. I really would. Because I don't even think they have the defensive, Roquan Smith doesn't want to play. They traded Khalil Mack. They don't really have a pass rusher at all on that team. I just don't see how their defense is going to help out at all. So Justin Fields is in a really poor spot.
Very poor. Very poor.
As we talked about those Lions previously, I do think the Lions will be better than the Bears. They picked up DJ Shark, which I think is sneaky. He's had some moments. They did pick up Josh Reynolds, who has played with Jared Goff from the Rams. So I think their wide receiver core is better than last year. They drafted Jamison Williams to help out with that receiving core as well. So once he gets healthy and out on the field, they could be much improved. They did draft Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Pascal to help rush the passer. Those are two huge additions for the defense. So They should be fun to watch. They were pretty competitive last year. They did not quit on Dan Campbell last year. They just were outmatched in most games because they don't have the talent. But hopefully they'll keep drafting and that'll change a little bit. Their over-under is also 6.5. Pretty. That one's a tough one. I probably wouldn't even touch that one.
No, because they could easily go under or over that, just fluky wise. So, but again, I think they're building in the right direction. I think they got some serious talent on the offensive side of the ball.
So we've got this one was tough for me. I thought about switching it up, but the Minnesota Vikings are the second place in that division.
That's not even a question. Yes, and anybody thinking that is a thing is ridiculous.
I like their coach. I think their offense is actually going to be more creative and better than last year.
I'll agree with that.
So I kind of wanted to do that, but we'll talk about the Packers in a moment. But they did pick up Zadarius Smith on defense. I don't know if we covered it with our draft coverage, but I'm still not sure why they traded pick 12 and 46 for 32, 34, and 66. And I'm not sure how that didn't end up with a first round next year. None of that makes sense to me.
No, not even
unless you're just trying to save salary. That's the only thing I can think of. Because again, if you pick 12, that guy gets a pretty decent contract.
Yep.
But other than that makes no sense. I remember we were hanging out we had found this table of guys, and they were from I don't even remember where they were from, but one was a Vikings fan, one was a Packers fan, one was a Steelers fan. And we're all chatting. And when the trade comes up and we hear it, we're like, wait, what just happened? And it just blew my mind. You go from 12 to 32, and that didn't come with a first-round pick next year? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look, for sure.
For a first-time GM, because they fired Rick Spielman, and they hired some other guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but that's not a good look to me. They did draft some good players. They got Lewis Sine, who's a safety. Picked up Andrew Booth as a cornerback, still trying to, shore up that back end of the defense. Their over-under is 9. I got this feeling I think Kirk Cousins is going to ball with this new offensive scheme.
He's always balled. He's been arguably the most underrated quarterback of the recent NFL history.
I want to say his numbers last year were 38 or 4,000 with
4,000,
33
just over
33 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and it just didn't equate to wins. But he had a good season.
Look, I'm just gonna pull this up now because why people are so down on Kirk Cousins, I will never understand. To be perfectly honest with you, this is his last. I'll just do the last 5 seasons since he's. Well, I'll do the last 4 since he's been in Minnesota. We'll just do the last 4. 4,200, 33 and 7. 4,200, 35 and 13. 3,600, 26 and 6. 4,200, 30 and 10. 20 NFL teams would love having that from their quarterback.
For the last 6 years, we would have killed for that from our quarterbacks.
And that honestly, you can go back even farther his days at Washington when he first started. The 3 years before that, 4,000, 27, 13, 4,900, 25 and 12, 4,100, 29 and 11. The dude balls. He just does. So why everybody looks at him as not capable, I just don't get, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good year. Jefferson is going to just pop off. Thielen, if he gets back to being healthy. KJ Osborne, who kind of came on last year. And they've still got Dalvin Cook. O-line should be better. Good offensive scheme. So, I mean, they're using the Ram scheme, which is essentially the Shanahan scheme. So, should be good, man. And that's why I struggled with moving them above the Packers. I thought about it for a moment. Obviously, I don't think the Packers' offense is going to be as good as it has been previously. But that defense is nasty good. Like, it is really, really good. So they didn't really add any guys. They re-signed a bunch of dudes for the Packers. They did sign Sammy Watkins. I don't think that moves the needle any. I mean, for at least 3 games, it'll be good. But other than that, he'll be hurt. They drafted 3 defensive studs, though. Quay Walker from Georgia, Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, Kingsley Ingleberry from South Carolina, and then they also drafted Christian Watson at wide receiver, who within a year or so should be pretty good. Packers offense it's like, I don't know if they're going to be as good as they've been previously because they don't have that go-to guy. They're going to have to manufacture stuff.
They'll be as good. They'll just rely on their run game a little bit more. Aaron Rodgers is going to go for his 3rd MVP. A-Rod's going to ball out. The Packers are better this year than they were last year. I just don't understand why anybody isn't picking them. It's mind-boggling to me.
Well, hopefully they fixed their special teams issues, because at least they would have made the championship game if they didn't have special teams issues.
I think they're the best team in the NFC, personally.
If the team stays healthy, I still think the Rams are.
I think they're neck and neck with the Rams, but the Rams have zero depth. Zero depth.
They have absolutely no depth. And that's
part of
their strategy.
I think the Packers are on par talent-wise minus the wide receiver position. But they're better at the quarterback position. They're better at the running back position. They're equal to on the tight end position. Their offensive line is better or equal to.
Imagine if the Packers gave the Cowboys a 5th-round pick for Cooper, and Rodgers had Cooper. It was only a 5th-round pick. I mean, they could have done that,
I still don't understand. Cleveland's really dumb. And if Cleveland's offering you something and Jerry Jones accepts, man, I don't know how you feel about as a Cowboys fan.
I mean, it was obvious they were trying to dump his salary. So it's like, well, we're going to cut him if you don't get him. And he probably won't go play for you if we cut him. So.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Like, why does Dallas – you should have handled that way better than you did. Way better than you did. So, look, to me, the Packers got better. I think Minnesota is about the same as they were last year, but they have better coaching, so that improves them a little bit. But the Packers got better, especially their defense, which was already pretty solid.
I wonder, because the games that they struggled last year is when there were teams that had a good enough defense to limit Devontae Adams. You never stop Devontae Adams, but you can limit him. And when they did that, there weren't other options for Aaron Rodgers. And in those games, they struggled. Now, again, they still won a lot of those games.
They're just going to run the ball more this year. If they're smart, they just rely more on the run. They could be San Francisco East easily. And they have better running backs, in my opinion, than San Francisco.
They do. Yeah. That's a great statement because it's true.
So with that and Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback, you should be able to dominate because your defense is better now. So you can stop people more than you were able to last year.
And the biggest thing I have with the Packers, I think the Packers can win the division. I think they can go and get in the playoffs. The problem I have is when they play the Rams, whose defense is still really tough, or the Bucks, I don't know where they're going to get their offensive production. I just don't.
So
or even if
the
Bucks, 49ers again. The
I think
49ers
the
smashed
Bucs are going to struggle this year. Their offensive line is going to be patchwork at best. And that's always been a downfall of Tom Brady. If he doesn't get protected well and you can put pressure up the middle, then that's an issue for him. I think with what the Packers have done with their defense, I think they can compete with anybody now on that side of the ball. And the thing about the Rams, in all honesty, and this still blows my mind, they're not a good run defense. They're really great at when you are forced to throw the ball and they can pin their ears back and come at you. But if you run the ball against them and you control that, they are not very good. So, in that regard, that actually sets up for the Packers really well now. So we'll see what happens. But I actually have the Packers as the best team in the NFC, personally. I don't think it's a big, huge gap there. But I would take, and a lot of it is because of Aaron Rodgers. I think the dude's about to go for his third MVP in a row. I really do.
I don't see that happening at all. I don't. I can see them winning a lot of games. I can see that. Again, I believe in that defense. He's not. I don't think he'll sniff MVP this year.
If he throws for, let's say, 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, what are you going to do if they're 13-3, 13-4?
I think they're going to vote somebody else MVP because they're tired of voting for him.
I'm just saying, again, if he put up those numbers, though, would you be like, damn, that's MVP again?
You kind of want those numbers to go up, though. Like, he's already won it twice in a row, back-to-back. You kind of want those numbers to go up.
But he loses the best receiver in the NFL, and he still puts up those numbers. Aren't people going to have to sit back and go, oh, shit, that was, yeah, he's really good.
But I could see Herbert, Matt Ryan. I mean, Mahomes could put up those numbers. I don't think he's gonna. I just don't think his numbers are gonna be as good. I just don't.
We'll see.
But I've been wrong before.
I'll
be wrong again.
We all have.
But Packers.
Well, what we got next week, buddy? Where we heading next week?
So next
surprise
week
for the people next week.
Next week is the AF. Well, we could do both the AFC West and the NFC West as a 30-minute pod, and then we're thinking about doing a fantasy football mock draft for all you crazy fantasy nerds.
12-team PPR. No defense, no kicker. It'll be we'll run it down, but it'll be a quarterback, 2 running backs, probably 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex, something along those lines.
I think so.
Something right in there, and we'll run down a 12-team PPR mock draft. Pinky and Caleb special.
We'll see how it
6
goes.
teams and draft and see what happens. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. But that'll be fun. So we'll run through first half. We'll run through the West, and then the second half we'll do a little bit of a draft analysis situation and get people ready for the season coming up.
All right, buddy. Wrap us up.
Final thoughts. Aaron Rodgers is a beast. Do you have any final thoughts?
Aaron Rodgers is a beast. Of any of the teams this year, I am still excited to see Joe Cool, Joe Burrow. He's dope. Joe Nasty. So that's my final thought.
Well, in the famous words of Kirk Cousins, you like that? You like that? On that note, we are out. Go spend that time with your loved ones, family, friends. Let them know you're there, you care, you love them. We'll see you next week. Peace out.